This beat is bananas. Gay King Kong the street and put him in a trunk of the Macan. So when I do it,
Alright, so it's going to be my review for the new King Kong movie that just came out this year. It's called Kong Skull Island from 2017. And it's pretty interesting, actually. I'd heard pretty good things about this. Looked like a decent, blockbuster film to see in the theater. A big monster movie. And I'd heard some pretty good reviews that it was pretty fun. And I was back home in Iowa, and actually I went to go see this with my dad and my older brother. So that was really fun, and seen a movie with them in a long time. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, we haven't seen a King Kong movie for quite a while. The last one, Peter Jackson did the King Kong movie. I don't know the year right now. Probably 2009-ish. And that was a long movie. Had Jack Black in it, Adrian Brody, Naomi Watts, and it was the very traditional King Kong storyline, I'd say. This is a little bit different. So it was directed by a guy named Jordan Vogt Roberts. I don't recognize him by name. Last movie he did was The Kings of Summer. It's kind of like a teenage coming of age movie about some teenagers. That was 2013. So I think that's what got him this movie. First thing I've seen from him. One of the writers, the biggest name is probably Dan Gilroy. Last movie he did was he wrote Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. I really, really liked that movie. That was good. So, interesting director, good writer. And so I'll just go over the plot a little bit. So this isn't your traditional King Kong storyline. It takes place during Vietnam. And so two of the characters we meet first are Bill Randa and his assistant, Houston Brooks. Randa is played by John Goodman, and his assistant Houston is played by an actor named Corey Hawkins. I kind of recognized him. I didn't know what I knew him from when I was watching it, but he's in a couple episodes of The Walking Dead, I think is what I noticed him from. But anyways, they go to DC, they go to a senator, and they're trying to get funding to go survey this island that's never been surveyed before. It's just kind of been unknown to men or to the human race, I guess, or whatever you want to call it, because it's always been covered in a storm. It's like a perpetual storm that is covering the area, and now there's just a break in that storm. Allowed them to get some satellite photos, and they want to go search it and figure out what's down there. And John Goodman's character kind of has a few ulterior motives. He's kind of monster hunting, which we'll learn later. But they get the funding, then they want to get a military escort to go to the island to be safe. And that's where the rest of the characters come in. They go to get Samuel Jackson is in the army. He's about to get shipped home from Vietnam, the war, but doesn't want to. He wants to go on another mission, so right away he offers him and his troops to go on this mission. They're helicopter pilots, so air cavalry is what they do, so they're going to be flying them in. And then they need to go get John Goodman goes a tracker, and that's Tom Hiddleston. He plays the tracker, James Conrad. And so he's an expert tracker, and he's in Vietnam, just kind of not doing much. He's a SAS, British operative, and they pay him a ton of money to go do this because he's good at surveying uncharted areas and stuff like that. And then one of the final people that comes along is Brie Larson. She's a war photographer, taking pictures of the Vietnam War and mostly the atrocities type thing. And she comes along. And so this is the group. They're going to go to the island. When they get there, they meet one of the other main characters, Hank Marlowe. It's played by John C. Reilly. And he is a World War II pilot who was shot down over the island during World War II. He's in the Pacific. And so he was in a dogfight with a Japanese pilot, and they shoot each other down. They end up fighting on this island. That's actually at the very beginning of the movie. We kind of see what happens to them as they're younger. And then when this group of people comes to the island later, 20, 30 years later, he's there, and he's kind of old and haggard and whatnot. So yeah, those are our main characters. And they don't hold back. We see Kong right away, right at the beginning when John C. Reilly's younger version of him is fighting this Japanese pilot on the island. So they show him right away. It's not like really a secret, but they get on the island. They want to see what's happening, and Samuel Jackson and the crew and John Goodman's character, they're dropping bombs to like make seismic events so they can track what's happening on the surface and stuff. And that that pisses off Kong, and he comes and starts to attack him. That's basically not the whole plot, but Samuel Jackson's character gets really mad at Kong for attacking their helicopters and losing some of his men. And then John C. Reilly is saying that Kong's the only thing that's holding these other monsters at bay. They come out of the ground, and Kong's there to fight them and kill them. So they can't. He's trying to convince him not to go ahead and fight him and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the plot. I don't want to get way into it, but I was kind of unfortunately unsatisfied by the movie. I thought it'd be funner. I thought it'd just be kind of the action. I thought it'd be good, and I was just kind of pulled out of it by how plotless it is. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's the biggest misstep, is that nobody really has any motivation to be there. So they're like kind of trying to survey this island, and you think John Goodman's character has like alternative motives. He maybe knew there was monsters or whatever. You want to call Kong and these other prehistoric creatures, but that doesn't really go anywhere. They don't do anything with that. And the whole like kind of motivation is that Samuel Jackson turns into this like what's his name, Colonel Kurtz and Apocalypse Now, just super focused on revenge against Kong for some reason. I mean, he just always wants to be in a fight. And then like Tom Hiddleston's character doesn't do much. He doesn't do any real tracking. Brie Larson's character doesn't do much. She doesn't become like the damsel in distress ever. They're just all kind of around, and it's like, I don't know, the plot's kind of boring, and there's not too much going on, and nobody really has anything motivating them. I think the best character is John C. Reilly's character. He's been there since World War II, and he's funny too. He like adds some levity to the situation, and John C. Reilly's a funny actor, and he does really well, and he's in it enough. But maybe they should have made him even more important. Like they kind of give it to him. Like after a while, you're kind of like, okay, this is kind of his story. But I think maybe they should just focus on him a lot more than they did, and it would have been a little bit better. Other than that, I mean, the action is decent, but I kept comparing it to the last Kong movie, King Kong from Peter Jackson. I thought that actually had really good action scenes for the most part. I felt like these were decent and okay, but I don't know. I don't think the action was enough to kind of overlook the bad plot and just no motivation for anybody to be there. So it's kind of too bad. It does have really good music because it's set in the 70s. It's also really good 70s music from, Vietnam era, what they would be listening to over there. And it does have sort of like a anti-war message going on. They try to give some speeches that just have no passion behind them. And so yeah, I was disappointed. I wanted it to be fun. I was like, whatever, I'll just turn your brain off and watch action. But even that was kind of hard to just watch and enjoy. It was too bad. I think my dad and brother liked it. I know other people have loved it. But I don't know. I just couldn't get into it, unfortunately. So I guess I have mentioned a couple other movies that it's reminiscent of course, the Peter Jackson King Kong movie. It's very Apocalypse Now, going in, and Samuel Jackson's character, the Colonel, just kind of goes a little bit crazy and has this sole focus of killing this gorilla. And then, John C. Reilly, of course, is very reminiscent of Dennis Hopper's character in Apocalypse Now, that's in there with the natives and whatnot. So those two movies are very obvious connections for this. And overall, I think I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. I can't recommend it. I just didn't have fun at all. I wouldn't pay to go see it in the theater. Maybe just wait for it to like come out on Redbox. Wait for it on Netflix or something. It's not even worth going to see on the screen because it's like a big action movie. For me, I didn't enjoy it enough to recommend it. It'll be interesting because apparently they're going to be coming out with a King Kong versus Godzilla movie eventually in like 2020 or something like that. I guess they're going to be doing. This is what I heard, that they're going to do another Godzilla movie, and then they're going to do Godzilla versus King Kong. That might be interesting. We'll see. I didn't like the last Godzilla very much either, so yeah, I think that'll be it. All right, so not a recommend. Only 2 out of 5. All right.